Well, hi, everybody, global family. This is Heather Lockett with Lasting Conversations. Ben Curtis is here via Zoom. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. And we already got chatting and giggling, and I realized I would just need to press record because we're having fun already. And so I'm very appreciative that Ben is here, zooming in from Rhinebeck, New York currently, although you travel because you're a busy dude, and this is a dude show. This is dudes in the best possible way. We might have so many different connotations of what dudes are, but Ben is here bringing the dude. And you have a pod show called Dude, You're Getting Well that actually starts, it sounds very Om-like, it's very peaceful. You have your CEO of the Dude School, and you're an executive coach, you're a musician, you're an actor, you do all kinds of amazing things. So again, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm excited to talk about all these things, dude.
All these things, dude.
I appreciate the shout out to the Om as well, because it took me a while to keep saying dude till I realized that it has this wonderful kind of soothing quality. And
can you do it now? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh yeah, totally.
Can you? All right, let's do it.
So sometimes I do it with the guys when we're in a group at the end of a meditation. So we'll all take a deep breath in and hold it. And on the count of three, we'll release our breath with the sound of dude, like Om. Okay, 3, 2, 1, dude.
That's great. That's great. That's fantastic. Well, because that does a lot of things. That does the centering, that draws in the breath, that brings the mind into what we're all here for. And then it taps into
my nervous system.
It calms the nervous system. And, correct me, because I won't have the verbiage down correctly, but you're not just talking, He-Man guy dudes. This is the dude of pretty much anybody, but male, identifying male, maybe not even gender specific. So explain your version of dude, and I'll go ahead and throw out there the divine masculine, because we're in a different kind of maleness right now, and it's very, very exciting.
Well, I'm glad you're excited.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opposing views out in the world. And the first thing I want to throw out to our audience before I answer that question, and I'm going to ask you again after I answer the question, but before I answer the question, when I say the word dude, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So for you, Heather, since you're here live, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
So what's interesting is that I would have had a preconceived notion of what that means.
Yeah, no judgment.
Right.
Yeah, so
and absolutely right.
Mind?
And so the first thing that would come to mind is that kind of He-Man thing, or the gnarly dudes, the from Fast Times at Ridgemont High dudes,
maybe a little stoner slacker,
a little stoner slacker, and also a lot of maybe John Wayne swagger dude, bruh. Hey, brah, that kind of dude, football dude. But I will have to, perhaps maybe this is a question back to you, that even the football guys, they can be out there kind of knocking heads. But again, if this is a different generation, are they also understanding the meditative side, and they're not the old connotation of what dude or even what man has been? So I hope that answers your initial questions.
Oh, what a great answer. I love that. I tend to wear a shirt that says Dude School, and people are like, what's that? And I said, that's a great question. I ask them what they think a dude is, and then I tell them. So there's no answer. There's no right answer, by the way. I have a friend who loves to research things. So of course we've looked up on ChatGPT, like the origin of dude, and it actually came from this sort of fashion era, the French fop, and I believe it was the 1600s, and when the makeup and the dudettes, it was those kind of, it was a dramatic flair of a person in a way. And so I'm not really sure how it went from that all the way to like Dude Ranch,
right?
Because that's kind of where we got the, hey dude, like it was a cowboy thing, the raspy voice. And then we got Jeff Bridges playing the
The
dude,
dude. Yeah.
of maybe our generation. I'm not even sure if the new generations know about Big Lebowski, but it was such a
As
cultural
well they should.
icon. Yeah. And,
Right.
and he sort of played the idiot savant because, yes, he smoked pot and was the quintessential slacker. He didn't have a job. That was the point. But he had this brilliance, and he just had a beautiful love of life. And I'm a surfer, but the whole dude thing started because I was the face of Dell computers, and I became branded as the Dell dude, as their face. And I'd gotten arrested at one point, and we'll talk about that later, but the career ended, and I lost a lot of money, and I felt like I lost a lot of clout in the acting industry, and it was over some cannabis. And I started to, people would be like, hey dude. And that was like a source of shame. It was a constant reminder that I blew a $500,000 contract, and that I did not have my crap together, so to speak. Now, granted, I was dealing with PTSD. This is like during 9/11. I was living in ground zero. Fame also comes with a certain amount of trauma and hyper responsibility that for a teenager is not natural for any adult to have that level of kind of pedestalness for a role that for me felt superficial, when I felt like, we're going into World War III, like we have bigger things to talk about. So I was just unwell. Right. And it kind of dawned on me as I began to get well and do men's work. And I haven't had a sip of alcohol in 12 years. I got sober. I had to, men were nurturing me, and I was re-nurturing a relationship with men that I didn't know I had any complications with. I love my dad. But I find it was so rare that I had a loving father. And I began to learn that the more men I spoke to. And I also realized I still didn't trust, while I trusted my dad, I didn't trust most other men, and that I'd been trained this way. And so as I got better and all these things happened, I started putting, after I got arrested, this tagline went across Fox News, and while I was still in jail waiting my, slap on the wrist and release, which is what it was really, was dude, you're getting a cell. Because the tagline was, dude, you're getting a Dell. And I actually have on this board over here, I have a cutout that says that from a newspaper clipping with my mugshot across it that a paparazzi had snagged. And I started reclaiming it. I'm an actor. I made a show about it, and kind of freeing myself of my own prisoner. Like I wore all these things and shame and victim as a badge of a scar, but it kept me stuck as a victim. And as I started releasing it and creating theater about it and talking about it, I was like, wow, I'm getting better. And so are all these people. And one day I just put in a hashtag, dude, you're getting well. And my friend didn't even call me. He just sent me a text, screenshotting it, being like, you found your brand. Congratulations.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. And on this show, when we get to the goosebumps and or tears, we're really nailing it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. That's so cool. And not to interject, but there's just so many nuggets you're throwing out here where something that is, most of us have our down to our knees moments. We just do. And when we're ready to claim ourselves, really is when we're on our knees. Mm-hmm. Just hate to say it, but it's kind of like that, I guess. So, but the next level is publicly. So to have it very public like that, and that you had that billboard, is it, as a young person as well, a young adult. That's very unnerving. And so I love everything you were just saying, that from all of that, and you've done your work, and then you've done your work some more, comes a whole new life, a whole new brand, if you will.
Thank you.
And what's that's cool just is amazing.
My wife's parents are both, her father's a veteran, and her mother works in the veteran hospital in mental health. And so we get to talk about men and mental health all the time now. And I've gotten to play a few soldiers on TV and Law and Order and a film. I feel like I can finally understand a little bit of what soldiers go through based on the programming I've had of a sudden war and a sudden shift in my psyche, conscious, and experience that has an emotional impact. Like I was very unwell, and I couldn't even, and this was at the height of my fame. I was at NYU. I had a beautiful apartment. I had 6 figures in my bank account. I was about to sign a $500,000 contract. DreamWorks was calling my manager on to have me come in and audition, but I couldn't even show. I was in such self-sabotage and so unwell, and I couldn't get even my everyone was making so much money. They're like, come on. But I really was, it was a cry for help. I mean, it's like, God, thank God my father heard it and like came up to New York and helped me like go through my mail from the last 3 years and pay my bills and get a therapist. Because I was a young person. So of course I was just doing all the things like that you do, like drugs and alcohol and spending and intensity. So this became a whole double decade of reparenting. I'm learning that we all need. And I think so many of us men are just tired, and women, and wherever you fall on the spectrum. So many people are tired of watching men not show up, and the one who have so much love and capability at like killing themselves over and over again. And because we don't have safe spaces, and we're like, come on, talk, please. But we've been trained to really just stuff that so deeply over so many generations that unfortunately we're going to need a minute. And I think the one thing we need the most, that we're most avoidant, like medicine, it tastes horrible usually, is the thing that's going to make you feel the best sometimes, is like another man. Like I can finally understand, not that, life is about gender, but the programming we receive is binary. So I'm just out to reclaim dude. It makes me take myself. So to answer your question, it makes me take myself less seriously. I feel like a dude is anyone who identifies as a dude. There's this incredible gay woman in our group who just like, she loves dude. That's her favorite word. She calls her mom dude. Like she identifies as dude, and she's learning so much about her masculinity and healthy masculinity. There are non-binary people who are having breakthroughs as a result of being able to talk about masculinity in a safe space. But this was created originally intentionally for men, so that we, who are also afraid of each other, could realize that we are the very answer. We're the thing, so that we get to say what dude is. Like you get to reclaim it. We shout it out at the end of every meeting. I have these guys like imagine sending like a giant Batman beam into the sky, or like a Care Bear stare. Our hearts are exploding up in this giant beam where maybe some man somewhere is like, what's that light? Maybe I should walk that direction. So that's kind of my goal in reclaiming dude and talking about it. Is the thing that was my biggest shame and pain is actually what I learned as I was talking, is which is why I'm just telling my story, because I learned if I just tell what, so that it's going to help and heal someone. Because if we speak our truth, that's the thing that sets us free. Because we each have our own truth, and it's our medicine on our hearts that we each have to offer. So I think if we're not actually coming together to share our truth, that we're also not offering our full heart to each other and our full potential to humanity. And we're robbing each other of that gift.
I can't even, my cheeks are hurting. I'm smiling so big and hard. That said, this is some serious stuff here. Mm-hmm. However, the smile is from it. I think it's really the very liberation of what you're talking about. And so many themes that you brought up having to do with safety, having to do with, we've been so used to being afraid of each other, but men on men being afraid of each other and not being allowed to have feelings and emotions. And what is a safe emotion? And where have the dads been? And don't get me started on the Mad Men generation. God bless them,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it put them in the hospital and in early graves.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then it beat the wives, and on it went. So now the tide is turning. It's done already. The 100th monkey has already sung, where it doesn't have to be like that anymore. And so that even the older guys, and hopefully especially the older guys with the wise wisdom, can put their swords down, their swords against each other.
Yeah.
And then against the world,
and against themselves too.
And against
right?
themselves. It's all of it. And same with women, because we do the same crazy ass stuff.
Yeah. And and the programming is slightly different, but it also, I see women turn each other against each other all the time.
I was just going to say that we are the meanest towards each other. And then I think probably vice versa, but then we can be pretty mean ass against our guys too.
But you also know how to, like, if you see another mom, like no other guy is going to understand quite like you will understand that mom. And if she had a miscarriage, if that woman had a miscarriage, no other man is going to understand what the man in her relationship is feeling. And that's also something that we don't talk about. If 1 out of 4 women who are trying for pregnancy have miscarriages, then that means also 1 out of 4 men are experiencing trauma and grief that we're not talking about, because they don't believe we're not allowed to, because we didn't carry it. But we hold energetic attachment to things. Of
course.
And so I want to say that forward too, because I believe is so important. And I love talking about women's work. It's what had me be like, oh my God, wait, men need this. Holy crap. Where is this for men?
But it's even. This is what a partnership is. Babies cannot exist without both. And so the emotions, the DNA, all of it is equally valid. Now, what you're saying about in somebody's shoes, of course. So the guys have their own shoes to walk that only another man can truly understand in many ways. Same with the women is also true. But where we can bridge that gap is allowing these voices to be acknowledged, to know that you're valid and you're valid as well.
Yes.
Okay, good. If we're preaching to each other, that's a good day too.
Yeah.
So tell me more about, we can talk about your rise up, but I think we just covered that. So the work that you're doing now with the guys, and you're about to have a live virtual workshop with different presenters. You also have the Dude School, and then with your podcast, tell us more about the flavors of the work that you actually do. I know I've got another nugget of a question in there, but let's start there and I will remember it, or you're going to tell me before I've even asked it.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for asking. I, about a year ago on my journey, and actually started podcasting, I think less than 2 years ago, I was interviewed on a podcast, or I interviewed a man who was a chef named Adam Lamb, and he helped chefs stop committing suicide. Anthony.
Yes. Sorry, I just because there are so and I blurt because I come from hospitality. I know that pressure cooker, and same with hospitals and doctors. And there are so many professions that we may not think, oh, what's the big deal? It's a very big deal. Yeah. First responders. Yeah, it could be the chef behind the kitchen. Yeah, it's big. So keep going. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No. Thank you for saying it. Anything. I think this is important to talk about, and why I bring it up too, because he kind of shed light on that. I worked in the hospitality industry too, and it wasn't until he said it that I was like, because I don't even know what chefs deal with, because I'm not a chef, but I know that chefs I have friends who are chefs, and I watch the burnout. I mean, they were some of the people that had me try drugs for the first time, to be honest.
Oh, it is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and more drugs. And
the intensity.
It's very intense.
And the hours. And so it's like training for the military, and you're training your body over and over and over for decades to finally get to this place. And then you do. And then your responsibility, it's kind of like a level of fame that is not normal for humans, like to have.
To get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. To have that level of responsibility is, while it's phenomenal, it is crippling. It can be, and lead to so much burnout. And if it's not designed with a team and support, it is one individual handling that amount of stress, which is not natural, which is why, like, when you come out of it, there's, you have that dopamine withdrawals, you have all these things you're dealing with, like PTSD. Your body is still craving a lot of that. So that really spoke to me. And he had an incredible podcast called Chef Life Radio. Just thought he was an amazing man. He looks like Mr. Clean. He's tatted up. He's got a bald head. And he was like the opposite of me. I had like a pink shirt on, and I was here to talk about heart, and he was here to talk about the masculine edge. And we just started talking, and we became kindred spirits, and we're about like 20 years difference in age too. And I realized how much I needed more multi-generational, intergenerational relationships in my life. And that's also missing for men, I believe, a lot today. We're still trying to do things on our own. And this is another example of it, like video games, our phones, everything keeps us, even AI is like us interacting with something, interacting with us, interacting with it, interacting with us. So it's not, while it searches the web, it's very
computer.
Insular is what I wanted to say. So we're not like out using all of our senses, and it's still very intellectual. So if our hearts have a electromagnetic field 10,000 times greater than our brain, but we're only training our brains, imagine what's happening if we start to train our hearts, which we can do just by being together. Anyway, so I met Adam.
No, but it's so true, because this is, I'm team human. I mean, the AI and the tech is great, but this is part of the nugget. This is why it works to be on the show here together, is we come from the heart, and that kind of a connection. Zooming is a connection. Getting a cup of coffee is a connection. Being in a room with someone is a connection. And we know music, all these things that, as you say, enliven our actual senses, our tactile senses, beyond the screens.
Yes. My friend and fellow dude, David Fulton, says, AI is ancient intelligence. Ooh.
That's for another show.
Yeah,
the
right?
Quantum physics of it. Yeah. Go ahead.
What if this is from the future, or from the remembering from what we already know? And, as I said to my bandmate, we were like sitting by a fire, and I'm like, what are we going to do when AI is taking all our jobs? And he's like, dude, we're going to hang out around the fire like we are right now, enjoying each other. We can finally play music. And I was like,
exactly.
I don't really want to spend all day designing all the back-end content. Like, I would love to have a computer like, thank you, AI. So that great. And actually Adam is an incredible tech whiz, on like a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old. I don't know. I don't think of myself as that. I was still in high school when the internet was being created. And all to say that he and I finally met in person for the first time after like developing a friendship for 2 years. And we met in person 9 months ago. And we led a retreat, and we hadn't met in person till the first day of the retreat, when we got to hug each other, and he showed up with like Ferrari red toenail polish. And I was like, this dude's awesome. He's like, I'm here to bring the masculine. And I got a little extra surprise for my feminine. I realized, we kind of realized by the end of the weekend, it was like, I don't know if you've seen that movie, Step Brothers, with Will Ferrell and
little bits at a time.
And at one point they're like, do you want to be best friends? And they're like, are we about to be best friends? Yeah. It was kind of that moment where these two grown men were like, are we best friends? Did that just happen like in this one weekend? And we realized we were like the business partner each other's been looking for. I've been running a men's group by myself. I'm so tired of doing it alone and preaching this. I have an advisor and a producer and an assistant, but it wasn't the same thing as like leading, having another leader there. And Adam has become that. And so together we created Dude Nation emerged. And so I'm the CEO. He's the COO and president. And we have an incredible relationship together. And he's been doing rites of passage for men, young men, fathers, for 20 years. I mean, since probably before I even knew what men's work was. And he does a lot of sacred space holding and all these things that are very important to me. And I believe if we can come back to these basics, anything is possible. And we did an entire weekend here in the Hudson Valley on grief and rites of passage. And we had a death doula come, and we got to talk about our funerals and our death and what's incomplete for us and the deaths that have been incomplete. And it all came out of a conversation because I posted something about this retreat, and we call it the Dude Deep Dive. And I'll tell you our various offerings, but this beautiful man called me named Anthony and said, I don't necessarily want to be a participant on your retreat, but I want to make sure you're talking to these men about death. And I was like, whoa. I mean, sort of, but not actually. That's not in the way, not that clearly. He said, great. Would you like me to facilitate a conversation? I'd be happy to, if you want, like, maybe it's just your thing. And I said, no, actually, like, this guy's sells out Omega every year. And he was like, yeah, I'll come sit with your dudes and hold a death cafe with you all. And God, it was extraordinary. Since then, we've been invited to be at Omega. So we're actually going to be leading a 5-day retreat there this June.
Cool. And Omega is beautiful. This is the Omega
Institute.
The Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. And I've been there a couple of times with Anita Morjani. So she took us on a death journey.
Oh, wow.
And came back because she died and came back for real. And then, so anyway, and in Panache Desai. So I've been to that campus, and it's magical there. So that's extraordinary that you're doing. And it's a
godsend. It was really
really is.
I met a guy at a farmer's market that's like, you're talking about masculinity. Well, I work at Omega and someone needs to know about you. And I was like, thank you, angels. Like, that was cool. It's very cool. I haven't gotten to take a class there yet. We just moved here 2 years ago and it's 20 minutes away. I'm always leading or gone when they are, but let me just get into it, for the sake of the show and for all of you. So Dude Nation is an organization. We're online, we're in person. We are reclaiming healthy masculinity on the planet. We create safer and braver spaces to men to truly be themselves, to express what's really on their hearts, and to get empowered in what matters to them and showing up for themselves and their lives. And for integrity, authenticity, we're not just here to like coddle people. We really are here to make change. And I have 10 years of training as an actor, that too, as a coach at a trauma informed facilitator. I've studied a lot of psychology. It was between therapist or coach, and I just wanted more of an action-oriented life. And I saw that working better for me and for some of the men I had worked with. But I believe both are really important. So since then, I've been studying social work, and I want to get my master's in social work one day as well. But Dude Nation, is mostly online, and our main website right now is dude.school because we're still we're rebranding and recreating this whole platform. But we have the Dude Con, which is coming up, which is our global live online summit for healthy masculinity. And we have 10 speakers from around the world speaking on different aspects of masculinity. We have former NFL player Marcus Ogden talking about resiliency. We have published author, drag queen, non-binary, queer theorist Jacob Kelly speaking about queer masculinity. We have Amy Bliss speaking about sex and trauma for men. We have Becky Sheehan speaking about women's work for men and helping genders understand each other. I'm going to be speaking about the importance of self-care and men's work. We have people from all over. So that's a really exciting event. It's the first time this is ever happening. It's $1 to register. And if you go to the dudenation.com/dudecon 2024, TheDudeNation.com/DudeCon 2024. That's the sign up, and it's $1 again, or $49 for an all VIP access to all the speakers. So we want to make it a no-brainer to be there. We were inviting every men's groups and human on the planet to attend. We're daring.
And that's February 9th.
February 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
It's coming up in a couple weeks here. And then, like you mentioned, Dude School, which is our online men's masterclass. So if you've never done men's work, or if you have and you'd like to try getting a more updated version of kind of modern, healthy masculinity, we walk you through that. I facilitate the class once a week for 12 weeks, and we take on 12 different topics that men face today, like stress, shame, self-sabotage, money, mindset, purpose, family, sex and intimacy, anger and rage, understanding relationship dynamics. So we do a lot of that kind of work, and it's fun. And then we have a Dude Collective, a community of all of our Dude alumni, where we just meet every week for any guy who just wants, that kind of regular support. And last but not least, we have our Dude Deep Dive, which is our in-person retreats that we do seasonally. And we held off on doing one this spring so that we could focus on doing an extra powerful one at Omega this summer. So that's kind of all the offerings. So we always have something, whether you're on the other side of the world or you want to be right here in person with us. And we also have a challenge to 10 men anywhere in the United States. I'll make it North America. If there's 10 men that want to host your own men's retreat, Adam and I will fly out there with you. And 10 men, actually, we have the whole budget in place. For less than $1,000 a man, we can be there in person and facilitate a men's retreat and show you how to facilitate more of these. So that's the kind of stuff we're hoping to do to really cause other men to lead themselves and show up for themselves.
I love it. And so describe to us healthy masculinity from your wheelhouse, and from the men that you are in circle with. What these days would somebody say, if we put a mic to everybody, what is healthy masculinity? And maybe that's such an open-ended question. You had somebody, brawny and tatted up with the red nail polish. That could be a visual of what healthy masculinity is. But I think from where I'm headed to is the internal. What does it feel like to be a healthy person? And we can say our masculine and feminine side, or those templates within all of us, the proverbial yin and yang between all of us. But what are you saying is a healthy male?
I think that's a great question. What I believe a healthy male.
Oh, there's your Tennessee. There's your Tennessee.
Yeah, a healthy male is. It's kind of hard to say, actually. A healthy male is a man who knows how to take care of himself, does take care of himself, puts the oxygen mask on himself first, so that he can give from a place of care and not lack. He understands responsibility, consent, healthy boundaries. He knows and practices his healthy boundaries and practices honoring other people's boundaries. He is aware of and able to talk about his feelings. And if he can't do it in day-to-day life, he has a place where he can do it. And when he's challenged, he doesn't do it alone. I think that's one of the most important keys of a healthy male today. While there is some beauty in learning things alone and going through your process, for each of us to discover ourselves, including the downs and the ups and the struggles as part of our learning and growth, the failures. Humans are not designed to be alone. Otherwise, they wouldn't put us in solitary confinement as punishment. So if any man anywhere is trying to do really anything alone, it's actually suboptimal. And that's just the truth of human design and energy. For every action, there is a reaction. So if two people come together, there's a stronger vibration than one, like period. The sum of two parts is greater than one. So it's just clear science to me that it works if you're willing. And I think, we just, the unhealthy male is also that part in all of us men who've been programmed to shame ourselves, to beat ourselves up, to protect ourselves. And this isn't right or wrong or good or bad. This is just healthy, unhealthy. Like what doesn't work is self shame, sabotage. It's victimizing. It's keeping us small, stuck. It's also keeping us from being responsible and claiming our language. Like, no, actually, I do mean this. No, I actually am angry and I need to be able to yell, and that I'm not hurting you. Like and I'm not raising my voice. I'm going to go let out some sound and take care of myself. And I'll be back to have a calmer conversation. Like, or I'm not available to talk because I'm going to explode. Like just some integrity, I think that's a big part of it. And then you also asked, the first part of the question was, not about male, but about healthy masculinity. And so I just want to answer that quickly, if I may, that, masculine and feminine are two very different energies, and they fit perfectly together, like yin and yang, and they're not gender specific. Like yin and yang, masculine, I believe healthy masculine, which is being in masculine form, if you look it up, is like order. It is it's integrity. It's structural. I like to call it like the bumpers on a bowling lane. When you're throwing a ball down, the ball and all that freedom and opportunity for chaos and energy and flow and creativity and spin and flourish is the feminine, and the pins and the bumpers and the flat, perfectly smooth lane are all the masculine, that is the structure that holds it in place so that it has a place to flow. And so I feel like if we are all in a healthy place and are masculine and feminine, and I know women in my life that are like, yeah, I checked in with my masculine today. He is pissed. He's burned out. He's like, you're using me way too much. Like I'm so over rotated in my masculine. I need some self-care, and I need to go get a foot massage and take a bath and talk about my feelings and maybe have a cry or like ask for a hug or cuddle my dog. Any of those things, I think I check in and I have the same conversations. Like, am I actually in like flow? And no, I'm going to move my appointments and I'm just going to go free. Like, am I, and avoiding showing up for responsibility and for my power? Because when I'm in integrity and I honor my word, it actually has my life work. And when I don't, it's more of my old trying to stay safe, victim, self-sabotage. It doesn't work. So one other added layer I'm going to put in of why I think humans working together works so well is that I have the kind of friends and men around me that if I am unwell or unkind to myself or unkind to them or hiding or avoiding, they come find me. I even have dudes at dude schools like text me like, your post was kind of weird. Are you okay? Like, how are you? How is your heart today? You've been sending these really sweet messages, but has anyone asked you how you're doing today? I mean, I get these from guys, and that's when I know the work's happening. Yeah. And I, my coach just was tired of hearing me talk about starting a men's group. So he's like, you have 90 days to start your men's group or you don't complete this program, period. And it was in those 90 days that I started the group, and my father died. And these men held me. And it was the first time everybody's parents die, but once you lose someone significant, and I started talking to other men, I was like, oh no, you all went through this. This is terrible. This sucks. And they're like, I know, but guess what? We got you. And because we've been through it, like you're going to be okay. And it's going to be different and it's going to suck. But this is a safe space to grieve. And actually we're going to check on you and making sure that you grieve. because you can't show up and teach us about grief every week and not let us hold you. And that's the kind of miracles that happens inside of men's work. It turns out men are really good listeners. We just need some practice or some space to be that. Yes. We've been taught to be fixers instead of
quiet, stoic, all these things. Yeah.
Which is another way to not be responsible for ourselves or those around us. We get, it's a posture, but it doesn't work. It feels safe, but it actually is. You're basically putting yourself in quicksand. Yeah.
Nothing but isolating. So I love the whole realm of the teamwork and the safe, sacred space, so that guys can reach out to each other in friendship, in bonding, to say, hey, are you okay? Or we've got your back. Now it's your turn. Thank you for helping us. Now it's your turn. Will you let us help you? And that can float both ways. All, men, women too. We're, women being the giver, but do we allow? Do we receive? Certainly, I can go on a whole different tangent about the conversations of bitch, idiot, where the cluster of husbands, this is 20 years ago, were saying, oh, my wife's the bitches. But then the women were saying, oh, those guys, they're such idiots. They're idiots. Mm-hmm. Well, I remember quite often saying, well, would you let them do the dishwasher or watch the kids? Just let them do that. Mm. And how they're going to do that. And anyway, it's been, I think it's a new generation. Mm-hmm. So that the allowance for these very conversations, for these groups, for the softening. And yes, the masculine in the women's too, in the women that had to put up.
Yeah.
Because we've all been afraid of each other. Right. So you deal with this
crap.
But there it is. But then there has been the toxic masculine within ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right. And so now I usually call that the fuck uppery, part of the fuck uppery for all of us as humans. And now it's so beautiful. That's probably why I know I can just keep smiling through this whole conversation, is that now that those days are done. And these days, one of these days, our podcast people will be listening and go, what are you even talking about? Because it's so simple, right? Yeah. The kids, it's just so simple.
Like, why are you still talking about gender? Like, right. We're past that.
And it's more of that human connection and raising of the kids together in partnership. Mm-hmm. There's no more Mr. Mom babysitting the kids. No, they're co-parenting because they're the equal parent, right? These are the things that I witness all the time now.
And atomic families didn't work. It was so insular, Western society, the American independent family.
Well, there's that insular thing again.
It's more of the same.
Right.
It's still alone. So actually they say it takes a village, because
it does.
We actually used to have a whole village of people when someone died in our life would come and help us mourn through that. And we have no one now, unless you're, actively in a church or really strong. And even then, is your whole church actually coming? Do those people all really care? Not really. We're all kind of in it for ourselves. And so I think it's practice for me to show up too. And it said something about the women and the men that really stood out to me. And I'm not going to hang there too long, but,
it wasn't the bitch idiot.
No. Well, it was right before that. It was kind of like giving each other permission, to learn that, you said women, give so much, provide so much. And yes, they do. But what I also hear from men is all I do is give and provide, and I'm never enough. I'm always a piece of shit. And I'm always, messing up. And I'm dying here. And so that maybe one day I can retire and maybe relax. If you make it there, and statistics say you won't right now, like this. And, it was that men actually suck at receiving. Men are not great receivers. That's what I'm learning. It is, it feels like takers, but I feel like I don't know. I'm just going to make a huge generalization that men have had to overcompensate. Yes, men have been given a lot more privilege. all of that. But I feel like because emotionally haven't actually learned how to fully receive that, it creates these hostile things where suddenly you feel like you need, it's that explosive tantrum of a kid who's like, I need it now, at some point it's going to come out somewhere. So I
but
think
it's been at a
practice
cost.
receiving.
Right.
Yeah,
It's been at a cost. And again, if we keep pedalizing and them blaming and stuff like that, I think, yes, historically, the balances have been and can still be out of whack. However, it's been at a cost, like you're finding, like we're finding, and like the mental health providers are finding. These things come at a cost. And it's usually at a destruction towards somebody else, but mostly towards ourselves.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing and giving voice and giving the high fives and being allowed to be expressive. And I love what you said, even in that, how to communicate within the household or within your relationships, is saying, okay, I really cannot talk right now because this is about to not go well. Can you please give me some space? And that's probably a whole conversation for a whole other show.
Or I'm not willing to talk when it's this needed.
We can't do it this right now.
Yeah,
right.
It's not gonna. Someone's got to say it's not gonna go well. That's my partner and I practice that still to this day. It's like one of the main things. Like when your nervous systems are revved up, how do you do that? And the main thing I want to say when everyone's like, okay, well, this is all great. What do you actually do? How do you make any change? I think one of the greatest ways to connect and practice receiving is asking for help, or just sharing your truth. Just saying like, when someone asks you how you are, being honest. I think that's one of the greatest ways that we can really start to access and change that and ourselves. And that goes for everyone is literally, if you have a hard time receiving even money, and it took me, I worked with a healer to make more money because I had so much internal programming that money was bad and evil and connected to so much. I just like my body didn't want it, like rejected it. So no wonder I couldn't make money. So I had to start training my body somatically and through meditation and through writing and through talking and through new spending habits and reprogramming and working with coaches and counselors. And finally, in dude school, we just practice. We sit and breathe and we meditate a little bit and we create some new positive energy. And then I just ask the guys, like, what are some things you're proud of this week that we can celebrate you for? And I think that's another great thing. It's so simple, but think about how many hours you spend a day looking at what you didn't do well, or, our negative talk. It's really powerful. So I believe any little clues and tips you can give yourself along the way, they're actually like putting money in the bank. They're creating new neurological pathways. I mean, the science that's happening is you are creating a new brain wave, and like a new dog, you're reinforcing it with those treats, and positive reinforcement works 10,000 times better than any form of punishment, no matter how strong or small. So if we can give ourselves a little bit of positivity, it's not toxic positivity. It's actually reinforcing the things we do well. Like if you tell your husband the things that he does well, or your partner, he's going to do a lot better than if you shame him for the things that he's not doing. Like the times when he does do the dishes, like, oh my God, is so sexy when you're doing the dishes like that, whatever, like you look kind of hot, your butt looks good up there, do it, like anything, like, or just thank you. That goes so long.
A thank you, an honest.
And so I learned that if I'm expecting that, maybe I should practice, I think I do a great job of acknowledging my partner. So I ask her sometimes, like, do you feel like, it sounds like maybe you don't feel like acknowledged by me, or you don't feel like I'm actually grateful, and I want to check in. And sometimes she'll be like, yeah, I don't. And be like, okay, I'll try to, I can be responsible for whatever I said that as you think that. But let me tell you, like, I'm really grateful. Thank you. So we practice giving each other that, like, what do you need? I think that's a really important access to shifting this whole paradigm.
What do you need in this moment? And kind of going back to where I was thinking of the conversation where we were both saying if somebody needs to step out for a minute, but that doesn't mean to never circle back to it. That's just taking the pause to come back.
Yeah.
Because again, whether it's real or stereotypical, they're the avoidance, right? The guys that will literally never want to talk about anything. And so this is reframing that on both sides, whatever kind of household you are, to say what maybe one needs a moment to just take a pause, but here's now a safe container that we're going to talk some stuff out.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's a great
and the
way.
thank yous and the affirmations and you're not alone. And then sometimes things do have to be talked through with somebody else and not your partner.
Yeah.
Right. The third and fourth party. Okay.
Yeah. It's not always appropriate to talk to your partner about everything.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes my wife has learned to say, maybe this is something you should talk to your men's group about.
Right.
Like you should work out on your own, then come back to me,
Yeah. I like it.
So I appreciate that.
I like it.
At least I have a
vice
place
versa.
I can go talk about it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So I'm very intrigued because we're going to be seeing what you have on your sign in back of you. Is that, I don't know if I'm seeing it in reverse or what, but what is, Dude Nation.
Yeah.
There it is. That's your logo.
That's our logo.
That's awesome. It's
Reclaiming
beautiful.
healthy masculinity. So we wanted to find some direction, some balance, compass, the structure and the flow. So that's the direction we're taking. And we really, I mean, men or women, however you identify, we really would love to have all of you at DudeCon. So anyone who's interested, please let us know or just show up. It's $1. So
that's great.
Or buy it for buy it for your husband or boyfriend,
Right.
They say, and then it was $1.
It was $1. Right. But then it'll be up to them to click on it or not. Right.
Yeah. I mean, but great. Consent is awesome. I have some couples who are going to invite their partner to come watch some of it with them. I think that's pretty cool. So they can talk about it together.
Yeah.
You don't have to be or you don't even have to be in a relationship, for any of this stuff, but we're all in a relationship with someone.
Exactly. And with ourselves, it comes back to ourselves. And then do we want a relationship? Are we ready to be a healthy person in a relationship or not? So if you're single, go to DudeCon also.
Yeah. I mean, I really believe it starts with us. In fact, I work with a lot of single men one-on-one too. And a lot of what we work on is just cultivating their relationship with themselves. And the more they learn to love themselves, the more they attract healthier partners. And I think we're great reflectors. And so whatever we're going through, we can often attract. So I really say, be really intentional if you want to have a healthy relationship in your life. Like say, the more specific you could be with the universe, the more easy it is for the universe to give it to you. Because if you're like, I just want someone who's got all the money, and then they have all the money, but they're a total asshole, like you want to be specific.
Right.
And, learn about your love languages and learning about self-care and these different aspects of masculinity. I just think these are great guideposts, and it really anchors us in today and is going to be an incredible conversation too. Because these are 10 different perspectives from kind of world-renowned speakers who are each bringing a totally different vision and decades of knowledge and wisdom along with them. So I'm really excited and just proud of myself, really, because I said I was going to do this, and we did it because I didn't do it alone.
I love it because we didn't do it alone. That's just amazing. So Ben Curtis, I'm sure there's one more nugget we can add to your repertoire, that you're a musician, you go on tour. You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Oh, yeah, there's
leave us with something else before we round out.
Sure. Well, I'm in a band, Dirty May, MAE. And Dirty May is just how she sounds. She's a little dirty, a little sassy, a little classy. And it's with my wife. And we fell in love at a time. I've been a musician my whole life. You'll hear me talk about a lot of different things. I do what I love, and that's part of my self-care. And I really encourage other people to do that. Like, who has time for that? Well, I have, it's extraordinary that I have this business. I'm also an executive coach. I'm part of treehouse.coach, which is an executive coaching collective. I also am one of the leaders with my wife, Cassie Fireman and Dirty May, and I have a really budding full acting career as well. And how do I do it? Like, I've got great healthy masculinity all over my calendar, like such good structure and boundaries and times. And it's how I'm able to find podcast time. And we have a music day, like 3 to 4 hours where I just spend with my wife practicing old songs, writing new songs, doing business for our band. And we have a day, where we just talk about for an hour our relationship. We have a different day, my personal productivity day on Monday, where I do a lot of meetings, and she and I have a relationship meeting, like a business meeting. What bills do we need to pay? What are we missing? Who owes who buddies? Like, what do we need to tackle this week? Where are we traveling? So we really have intentional check-ins throughout the week, and I've everything kind of has a meeting in a space so that it can kind of move. And then I have my weekends to myself, so I don't work on the weekends. I take one client. She's my she's a yoga and meditation training client I've worked with since before the pandemic for 4 years, and so we have a really special relationship. And I spend Saturday morning with her. And she actually works with Live Nation and travels the world with all these huge, incredible bands that I just dream of meeting one day.
That's
I
great.
just get the occasional t-shirt from her, but she's incredible. And I just love my clients and I love what I do. And I have a personal training and yoga background. And being an actor and musician, if we're not well, it costs us a lot of money. I mean, being a coach, running your own business, if you don't make time for your wellness, you're forced to make time for your illness. And it costs a lot of money. Any injury costs me time and rehabilitation. I broke my wrist snowboarding last year because I'd gotten so good at surfing. I was like, I'll try snowboarding. It was incredible. I did great. End of the season, broke my wrist 4 weeks before my wife's biggest solo show ever, releasing her new album live on stage in New York City. And I was her lead guitarist. And it actually it put a fire under my ass. I got a lot of incredible therapy, and I had to play kind of like this, but I got better than I've ever been on guitar because of that.
Nice.
And the music, it's kind of New Orleans-y and folky and bluesy. Three of us write: Cassie, myself, and our bandmate Robbie Frost, who's he's like a brother from another mother, old soul from Ohio, and he sounds like a Dr. John from
That's
New
super
Orleans.
cool. I had a quick listen. It's really fun. It's dancey
so
and
fun.
very fun. Yeah.
And it brings us so much joy. So,
right.
I love life, and I don't have to give any of it. I kind of call myself a parallel entrepreneur, and I get to coach all kinds of different artists and professionals, and it's all about, like, we're kind of doing the same thing, just under different vocabularies, maybe, because it's all under the guise of integrity and self-care and showing up for yourself and handling mitigating the risk and handling the challenges. And there are tools that work. Like, if you don't have a morning routine or a self-care container, a toolbox that you use, which could include people in your life or accountability. Of course, we go to our old, like, not as healthy habits. And our body's smart. It knows how to, like, nurture us in ways that are kind of secret and feel good, even if it feels shitty the next day. Like, we know kind of how to sneak around, but it's that Marianne Williamson quote, and Nelson Mandela, it's, our light it's not our darkness that frightens us, it's our light. And I think we just get to practice being in our light. And that's what I want to leave everyone with is, and your darkness is beautiful, but if you don't practice showing up and allowing yourself to be seen, you're robbing the world of all your light. And people love you and need you, and there's no one else like you in the world, including you, Heather.
Thank you very much. I received that. And of course, Mr. Rogers was a genius because since I was a kid, that's what he was saying to us. There's no one like you, and you get to be you. And I love that. And I love your personal playbook. I was calling it a personal playbook when you're talking about your time with your partner, your wife. I was thinking of it as a personal playbook. Like you go, okay, today is this, and this is our schedule, but it's spacious and full of love and joy and fun and play. But yeah, we get to remember to schedule those things, to schedule the play and then the conversations. And let's talk about the bills. And that's all part of the self-care that then cares and nurtures the rest of the world, the ripple effect, the proverbial ripple effect.
You said it. Yeah. It's wild. I feel like we could talk forever about anything. So
I know, but
I have no idea how long I talked. I know I did a lot of talking. So I'm just going to remove the shame and judgment. And I just want to say that kind of for the sake of time, I just hope that anything I've said has helped someone today. And I've just feel lit up in your presence and your listening. I know you're a really good listener, and it's allowed me to feel comfortable and be able to be seen and forward. So thank you for the gift and the space of healthy masculinity and divide everything that you were for me today. It's been really easy and wonderful and fun and light to be here with you as we talk about these things that, are important and sometimes heavy.
Thank you so much.
Grateful.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we could just keep buzzing on, and maybe I'll see you at Omega or one of my trips back up north. This is amazing. Thank you.
And I want to come down to Florida. It's so cold
come to
here.
Florida.
I'm ready.
Come on down to Florida. That'll book some cool music. Sidebar when we stop recording. Well, come on down to the Brewhouse Gallery, Lake Park, Florida. I'll give a plug out to the Brewhouse Gallery, Lake Park, Florida. It's very fun. It's a fun music venue and art venue.
Cool.
So
okay.
It's very fun. We kind of have a really cool musician bunch around here.
We've been collecting there's a few different hubs in Florida where we're looking to, we're a long way away. So we want to make sure that we have a few things going on if we can come down there. We get a bunch of dudes in a van or on a plane, but
I love it.
Bunch of dudes and my wife, God bless her. Actually, we hire a lot of local musicians now too. So one of the cool things she and I have learned to do is travel, and we can, we've got a lot of our music notated now and things that we'd like to work with new and local artists wherever we go.
Fantastic.
So we hire local people too and support local music venues. So I love that you gave that shout out to them.
Yeah. They're in my heart. So Ben Curtis, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I know your time is very precious, and you are one busy dude. And good luck with DudeCon. I know that's coming up in just another couple of weeks. So all of you hop on and join. It's only $1. And if there's one more thing you want to raise a glass or say a little goodbye somehow, do you have a sign off of some sort that you?
Yeah, dude, you're getting well.
Thank you. That's it. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thank you for being here. And if you would like to be a part of the show, please send emails to podcasts@lastingconversations.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And please remember to like, review, and share this show. This is Lasting Conversations. We get to the heart of everything.